Toyota has built its reputation on reliability and bulletproof engineering. But here's the truth. Not every Toyota SUV deserves your hard-earned money. Today, we're breaking down the 3 worst Toyota SUVs you can buy right now in 2025. These choices are backed by real-world data, owner experiences, and objective analysis. Whether you're shopping for your next vehicle or just curious, this video will save you from making a costly mistake. Let's dive in. Starting at number 3, the Toyota Corolla Cross. I know what you're thinking. It's relatively new, affordable, and carries the Corolla name with decades of reliability behind it. But this vehicle is a textbook example of compromise gone wrong, and once you spend time with it, the problems become impossible to ignore. The Corolla Cross feels underbaked in every way that matters. You've got a 2.0-liter 4-cylinder making just 169 horsepower trying to move 3,400 pounds, which means 0 to 60 takes over 9 seconds. That's not just slow on paper, it's concerning when merging onto highways or passing on 2-lane roads. The CVT transmission makes everything worse by creating this disconnect where you press the gas and the car thinks about it before reluctantly responding. The experience feels like you're asking the car to do something it doesn't want to do. Then you get inside and realize the performance issues are just the beginning. For nearly $28,000, you're sitting in an interior that's shockingly cheap. Hard plastics everywhere that sound hollow when tapped, a tiny infotainment screen that looks like it's from 2015, and seats that feel like park benches after an hour. Toyota's always been about function over form, but the Corolla Cross takes cost-cutting to a level that feels insulting. You get just 25.5 cubic feet of cargo space behind the rear seats, barely more than a sedan, and even when you fold those seats down for 66.8 cubic feet, the high cargo floor and narrow opening mean you're constantly fighting to get anything substantial in there. The ride quality somehow manages to be both too soft and too harsh. It bounces over bumps, can't handle corners with confidence, yet still beats you up over rough pavement. The hybrid version does get you up to 37 mpg combined, which is impressive, but it doesn't fix the fundamental problems. You're still stuck with the cheap interior, limited space, and uninspiring driving dynamics. That hybrid costs several thousand more, and that money would be better spent stepping up to a RAV4. What's frustrating is that Toyota clearly knows how to make great small SUVs, but the Corolla Cross feels like they stripped out everything good from the RAV4 and sold it for only slightly less money just to hit a price point without any real passion behind it. Coming in at number 2, the Toyota Venza. The Venza is a vehicle that probably shouldn't exist, and spending time with it makes you wonder what Toyota was thinking. This is supposed to be their premium mid-size crossover, but it fails spectacularly at being premium, mid-size, or particularly good at anything. Here's the fundamental problem. The Venza is basically a RAV4 with different sheet metal and a mandatory hybrid powertrain, but it starts at around $35,000, nearly $10,000 more than a base RAV4. For that extra money, you get slightly softer materials in a few spots, some ambient lighting, and a badge most people won't recognize. That's it. You don't get more space, better performance, or any features you couldn't option on a loaded RAV4, so you're left wondering what you actually paid for. The 219 horsepower hybrid system is smooth and gets 39 mpg combined, which sounds great until you realize the RAV4 hybrid exists, costs $3,000 less, and does literally everything the Venza does while being more practical. The space situation is comically bad. The Venza is physically longer than a RAV4, but it has less cargo room. You get just 28.8 cubic feet behind the rear seats compared to the RAV4's 37.5, and with seats folded, you get 55.1 cubic feet versus the RAV4's 69.8. That's nearly 15 cubic feet less in a vehicle that's actually bigger. The sloping roofline that's supposed to look sporty just reduces headroom and eats into cargo capacity. The all-wheel drive system uses an electric motor for the rear wheels instead of a mechanical system, so it's fine for slippery roads but unsuitable for any real off-road use. What bothers me most is that the Venza has no clear purpose. It's not the most efficient, that's the RAV4 hybrid. It's not the most spacious, that's the Highlander. It's not the most capable, that's the 4Runner. And it's not the most luxurious, that would be a Lexus. It exists in this weird middle ground trying to be everything and ends up being good at nothing. Sales numbers tell the story. The Venza sells in tiny numbers compared to the RAV4 and Highlander because buyers quickly realize they can get a better vehicle for the same money. If you're considering a Venza, just buy a RAV4 hybrid and pocket the savings, or stretch for a Highlander that actually gives you something meaningful. The number 1 spot, the Toyota Sequoia. This is a vehicle that costs $60,000 to $80,000 and delivers an experience that feels half-baked and not worth anywhere near that price. The Sequoia was completely redesigned for 2023, and Toyota had an opportunity to create something special, but instead, they created something that looks amazing on paper and disappoints dramatically in reality. The twin-turbo 3.5-liter V6 hybrid makes 437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque, which makes the Sequoia genuinely quick, but the execution is terrible. The hybrid system creates jerky, inconsistent power delivery, where you're accelerating normally and then suddenly there's this lurch as it transitions between electric and gas power. It's clunky and noticeable in a way that's unacceptable in a vehicle this expensive. The 10-speed automatic constantly hunts for gears, and you'll be cruising down the highway feeling it shift up and down for no reason, which is unsettling. Despite all this hybrid complexity and potential maintenance headaches, you only get 19 to 21 mpg combined. That's barely better than the old V8 and worse than the Tahoe and Expedition. You're dealing with all the downsides of a hybrid without any real efficiency benefits. The interior packaging is the biggest disaster. Despite being massive outside, the third row is cramped with less legroom than a Highlander. Adults cannot sit back there comfortably beyond short trips. The second row seats don't slide forward as far as they should, making third row access awkward. Cargo space behind the third row is just 22 cubic feet. You can barely fit grocery bags with all rows in use. Interior quality is inconsistent, with some nice materials, but cheap hard plastics in odd spots that catch your eye. The center console is enormous and takes up cabin space without providing much storage. The infotainment is Toyota's latest system, better than before, but still not as intuitive as competitors. Here's what really hurts. A base Sequoia starts around $60,000, and for that money, you could get a beautifully equipped Tahoe or Expedition with better space, more refined powertrains, and nicer interiors. Want the capstone trim? You're looking at nearly $80,000, which is Lincoln Navigator, Cadillac Escalade, or even BMW X7 territory, all of which will make you feel like you spent luxury money. Toyota used to dominate full-size SUVs with the old Sequoia that was outdated but rock solid and fairly priced. This new one tries to compete with domestic offerings but falls short while charging more, and the hybrid system is unproven long-term. Unless you must have the Toyota badge, look at the Tahoe or Expedition, or consider whether a Highlander or Land Cruiser might meet your needs better.